same time, man, Miss Moss Snow, she had the bingo going. I mean, man, you would sit out here, man, and it would be 30 or 40 buses coming up the road just to go to bingo. I mean, so her and Cleve Holloway, Miss Maureen Holloway, they kept it going. They kept it going. I mean, but it should have gone a lot further.
Mr. President and members of the National Business League, every Negro who desires to have an incorporated city should ask himself the following questions.
And when I say invest, I'm talking about time. I'm talking about coming to the council meetings. I'm talking about seeing what it is that goes on in the council meeting. The things that the mayor and the council struggle with every day that the average person has.
What are your motives for desiring to be incorporated? The true answer should be to become a true citizen in the state or territory of an incorporated community for the purpose of enduring the city benefits. L.C.L. Davis, first mayor of Hobson City, Alabama. Hobson City, Alabama was incorporated in 1899. The city was founded and governed by determined African Americans in Northeast Alabama, becoming the first Black municipality in the state. It is the second in the nation behind Eatonville, Florida. This Black settlement represented Black independence, Black excellence, and Black unity, which was imprinted in the hearts and minds of each citizen of Hobson City.
You say Hobson City, Alabama, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Black independence and pride.
Families that were really connected to each other throughout the community that formed the basis for helping to raise all of the children in the community.
Kids out playing, riding bikes. The families were like, they may not be related, but it was like they were related. I could go to my neighbor's house and I actually felt like I was related to him. Later on in life, I found out I wasn't, but all of my friends coming up was like my big brothers to me. I don't know if it's the same now, but when I was coming up, that was the unity of the community. Everybody was close-knit. There was a lot more support behind each other, and we protected each other a lot more.
Hobson City, Alabama was known as Maury Quarters, a Black settlement that was a part of Oxford, Alabama. It was located west of the railroad that ran north and south of the city of Oxford. This was not uncommon as Blacks were often historically restricted to neighborhoods separated from the whites by the railroads.
Maury Quarters was actually established after emancipation because the city of Oxford didn't want to serve the Black citizens of that community. And they were already designated for this community anyway. By them already being here in one place, it was a little easier for them to say, well, okay, we don't want to have to do anything with those people.
The community of Maury Quarters participated in voting, which resulted in the Black man being elected to Oxford City Council as Justice of Peace. Out of rage, Mayor Whitehair promised during his campaign for mayor that he would stop Blacks from voting. After the election, he went to the state capitol in Montgomery to have the corporate boundaries of Oxford redrawn to exclude Maury Quarters.
So they set boundaries to exclude it from Oxford. And in the same process, they probably actually did us a favor because it seemed like our founders were prepared.
And so the people were out in the county for a long time. And at some point, they approached the clerk of courts in Anniston, and they also got them a lawyer who advised them to incorporate themselves.
The citizens of Maury Quarters filed a petition on July 20th, 1899, to become a separate municipality. On August 16, 1899, the Black settlement was incorporated and selected to name their own town, Hobson City, after the Spanish-American war hero Richard P. Hobson. As with any new city, there were times of difficulty. Due to the exclusion from the city of Oxford, Hobson City lacked resources, which resulted in the community dealing with poverty. But over the decades, That gradually started to change, and Hobson City began to experience growth. There were developments of homes, businesses, recreational facilities, churches, and most importantly, schools. Education was a priority for the early leaders of Hobson City. Professor C.E. Hanna set the foundation for education with the new town.
So I remember Professor Hanna walking throughout the community. We would see him, engaging people along the way. And he always had his umbrella with him. So everybody knew him, as the teacher, as the professor. We always called him Professor Hanna.
In 1905, Professor C.E. Hanna established the first school in Hobson City, called the Hobson City and Oxford Academy. It served its community for over 10 years until a fire destroyed the building. The cause of the fire is unknown. After the fire destroyed the school, a proposal for a new building came from the north through the Rosenwald Initiative, a program that began in 1917 by Sears and Roebuck President Julius Rosenwald to build schools for African Americans across the South. With the financial assistance of Rosenwald, the support of Booker T. Washington, and the money raised by the Hobson City community, the Rosenwald structure went up in 1923 on Park Avenue, now Martin Luther King Drive. The school was renamed to Calhoun County Training School. The school gained recognition from the state and county for its teachings of bricklaying, carpentry, sewing, and bicycle mechanics. For years, it was the only school in Calhoun County for African American students to get a high school education. Some students came from the neighboring cities to attend the school, such as Anniston, Oxford, Heflin, Talladega, Munford, Bynum, Ohatchee, White Plains, Coldwater, and Easterboga.
But we were always taught to do our very best. And we do know that students from this school went on to graduate from high school and go to colleges all over this country, including some of the colleges that have been traditionally closed to Black people. It was a very good school, and we had very good teachers. And they provided us with the best opportunities that they could provide us with at that time.
Being in a city that was headed by African Americans, interacting with the mayor and the chief of police, I think people who went to school there saw themselves in power, saw the potential to run a city which you don't see every day. I say one thing for the teachers at Calhoun County Training School, they were really committed. I used to jokingly say they taught us as if their very freedom depended upon it. I think I left Hobson City with a lot of confidence in terms of what I could do and what I could be, but not just because it was Hobson City, but because some of the most committed teachers I think I have seen anywhere were there teaching.
I am from Anniston, but I worked in Hobson City for 7 years. I was a classroom teacher, and I taught French and English and literature. And the reason I was only here for 7 years, that was during the period in which they began to send us out into integrated situations.
Pappy Don lived here in Anniston. He coached football, he coached basketball, he coached whatever had to be coached, and he taught chemistry. Pappy Don was unusual in his commitment to students. You don't expect a coach to be that interested in a student who's taking an academic track and being able to see in that student the potential to be something, outside of sports. That was the way it was with Pappy Don.
While entertainment started to rise within the community, Booker T. Washington Park was the focal point for the entertainment in the community. The park had a swimming pool, tennis court, baseball field, bowling alley, and as well as a pavilion for dancing and picnics. Hobson City was the main attraction for African Americans and surrounding cities to come visit and enjoy life necessities without the burden of Jim Crow.
Buses used to come for the picnics, and people from other cities, other towns would come.
People used to come from Birmingham, Chattanooga, Tennessee, back in those days. And their buses were coming in on Saturdays, about 6, 12, 15 buses.
In addition to their recreational activities, Hobson City was nationally known for its nightlife, where people came far and wide to attend nightclubs to fellowship and enjoy music, which would become a regular stop within the chitlin circuit. The chitlin circuit was a group of performance venues located mostly within the South that were made safe and acceptable places for African American musicians and entertainers to perform during Jim Crow. Since Hobson City was an all African American governed city, it was a desired stop for entertainers as they traveled through the circuit.
Chitlin circuit was a means for communities, black communities, and black entertainments to come and make money. Everybody's dream is to be big, to go up to the Starlight or the Apollo, or to go to Chicago and to play in many of those theaters. But before you get there, you got to pay your dues. So the best way to do it is to come down south. And it was always separate. You had to have a place to stay, food to eat, you got to know where to go, who to deal with. It's sort of like a underground railroad for musicians.
The entertainers who coming down through Carolinas, Atlanta, Hobson City, they'll down through Birmingham, Jackson, Mississippi, down through New Orleans, following a route of black nightclubs where they could play.
The entertainment, recreational activities, and development made Hobson City a household name. One would think there were many business owners that contributed to the progression of Hobson City. However, it was mostly executed by one man with a big heart, Cleve Holloway. As a child in Lafayette, Alabama, Cleve Holloway was deprived of many things. Once he relocated to Hobson City, he found his purpose by helping the progression of Hobson City, along with his wife, Maudine Holloway. He was simply the fuel to the engine that kept Hobson City going for decades. He was an entrepreneur who invested his time, money, and heart into the city. He owned 3 nightclubs, service station, a washateria, a bingo hall, skating rink, baseball field. He also founded a church in Hobson City that did not take offerings from the community because Holloway covered all the church's expenses. Lastly, he built and financed homes for citizens in Hobson City.
So Mr. Holloway was a very important focal point in this community. He provided homes and put people in them.
The house that I live in right now, Mr. Holloway built it. He built houses for us, all kinds of houses he built. He invested his money. And Mr. Holloway was the kind of man, he made money, but he gave it to the people of Hobson City. I mean, you can't tell it all. He's too big to tell about. He was on the march for people.
In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny, and I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
George Wallace specifically met with Mayor Joe Strickland of Hobson City and Mayor B.A. Adams of Oxford, Alabama, for a public signing that ordered school boards to defy the federal school desegregation orders. But in 1972, The federal government finally forced Governor Waters to integrate the Calhoun County Training School with Oxford City schools. The black students in the 7th through 12th grade were sent to Oxford High School, while Calhoun County Training School became an elementary school serving both black and white children in the 1st through 6th grades. A few years later, the school was renamed to C.E. Hanna Elementary School in honor of Professor Charles Edgar Hanna.
And what happened with integration is that now it was safe for us to be in all spaces. And the lure of that is something uncontrollable. You can live, work, and socialize in spaces beyond your own community. And the draw of that was real and significant. And so many younger generations begin to leave Black communities. Consequently, their dollars left with them. They begin to spend their monies at big box grocery stores and department stores as opposed to the small grocer in their own communities.
Having the urge of wanting to go into a building that they've never been into and forbidden to go into, but still passing by it every day, I want to see. I wonder what it's like in there. I wonder what that restaurant is like on the inside. They might pass by and hear a jukebox playing and see a crowd full of people, but they're not allowed to go. After a while, you start feeling excluded. You got a little more intrigue or a little interest about what it is you've been excluded from. So now all of a sudden, here you go, the doors open. And as the doors open up, man, we there now. We got the same rights they got. We could go to the same stores they go to. So, okay, here we go. We're going to bypass the stores right here in our city because the stores in Oxford is more like a field trip.
But I do believe that we are in a moment, a cultural moment, where people are starting to understand the impact that integration had on Black communities, and that there is a resurgence of folks wanting to come back into our communities and revitalize them and see the value in them. It's clear that white folks are doing that because of gentrification. They're coming back into our communities, they're buying up property, and then they're making those communities so expensive that we can't even afford to be there anymore. And I think we are in this moment where we're realizing this is what's happening in our own communities. And there are Black folks who are now saying we need to come back into our own communities.
Due to the economic decline during the 1970s and the 1980s, Hobson City mayors and council members sought out to innovate ways to serve their citizens. However, it led to an accumulation of debt and unethical accusations in the process.
On the surface, it may look like a person was doing a lot of wrong. They were just trying to make Hobson City work because they knew that the white people were not going to help Hobson City. And so you're here by yourself and you've got to kind of navigate through all that stuff by yourself. When you find your own way of doing things and then you have people coming to you afterwards saying you've done it all wrong and this is illegal or this is unethical. When all they were trying to do was trying to find a way. One day I had a 6-hour-long talk with Judge L. Stringer, who was the mayor during that time. And of course, he had to go to the governor to get help from the governor. And he went places and he met people and he got people interested in coming to Hobson City, like James Brown, Hank Aaron. And so I think that was that scare that Hobson City really was going to get out of the gate, and they had to stop Hobson City. And Hobson City has not flourished since that time.
While applying for financial opportunity on behalf of Hobson City, Mayor McCrory discovered that there are no records in state files of Hobson City Incorporation. Majority of Hobson City records from the early 1900s has either been lost or destroyed. As a result, many citizens have different ideas to what happened to their records of incorporation.
In one way or somewhere along the way, forgot to follow the steps along as it related to really being incorporated. Records could have been destroyed, but according to the state where the records should have been kept, there was no record of where they had been incorporated as they began to apply for some things that was necessary.
They may have been incorporated. I don't believe that people that were helping the founders at that time would have left them in a situation where they could be vulnerable. the situation with the white guys getting arrested was just another way for them to manipulate and say, well, okay, before we take a chance and letting a lot of more good white people come through this city and get arrested by those black folks over there, how about we just go ahead and incorporate it back into our city? It belonged to us anyway. We gave that to them. I think that's what the attitude was. And in the process of that, when you got people in power and their prejudice on top of it, they could slide stuff under the rug, or maybe they'll just, overrule some stuff. Maybe they'll force signatures.
Or was it the summer of 1919, known as the Red Summer? The Red Summer of 1919 refers to the series of race riots in the United States that took place between May and October. There was a national epidemic of white mob violence towards blacks who were maximizing their rights as citizens and starting their own settlements. This was a time when black people defended themselves and fought back. The riots occurred in more than 30 cities, and Hobson City, Alabama was one of those cities.
We have seen a resurge of racism in a way that we've not seen in many years. And I think black people have to realize that we have to come together just as our forefathers did, and that we must be supportive of each other, and we must stop expecting other people to help us. And we've got to invest in ourselves and our communities. If we want our communities to be better, then we have to be better. And we cannot sit back and wait and expect a mayor and city council members to do for us those things that we need to do for ourselves.
Under the leadership of Mayor McCrory and the vision of the council members, there's a promising future for the town of Hobson City. It is going to take community involvement where citizens come together, provide solutions, and execute the plan.
I believe that Hobson City can survive, but I believe that in time, if it's going to survive, it's going to have to attract businesses. Some of those businesses may be black-owned, they should be, but there also should be some white-owned businesses.
And every once in a while, you hear people talking about how proud they are of Hobson City. But I think those people have to stop talking about that pride and start coming together to work to make some things happen for Hobson City. Because when you talk to people, for the most part, all they know is that Hobson City is an all-black city. It's the oldest black city in Alabama. But yeah, what about being the oldest black city in Alabama? What does that mean to you? And what does that mean now? People are sitting back now waiting for something to happen, but nothing is going to happen until we get together as a people and talk about what it is that we want to make happen for Hobson City.
We might be proud that we're from Hobson City, but who's concerned enough to make sure that Hobson City will be here 20, 30, 40, 50, or 100 years from now? I fear that one day you might come through Hobson City and we won't be able to come up this road and look at all the different houses and say, okay, this is Hobson City. I fear that one day it might just be a historical marker.
I think there are enough people who are invested in preserving Hobson City that help is on the way, and that they just need to be steadfast, and they need to be invested, and they need to just work to make sure that their history and their heritage is not only preserved, but that it goes forward.
Hobson City is a great place to live. I think we can attract other people who want to come to this town to live because of the history, and be able to share that history with the world and get involved. That's the most important thing that we can do, is get involved in what's going on.
just have too many beautiful memories here, and I don't want to see anything happen to this place. Kind of worried about the youth around here, but as you can see, people are able to get along. You know what I mean? This is home to a lot of people.
What it means to me is the kids coming up and the older people that have raised us to be who we are today. That's what Hobson City means to me, and it's love, like Love.
Hobson City means to me family, means faith, means pride. It's my home, it's my joy, it's my sanctuary.
It's just like, it means everything to me because I have my childhood here. It's just black unity, people coming together as one. I will never forget about this place. I will always stay here. I will never go anywhere else. Hobson City is my origins. Hobson City for life.